Here we are in section 7-1 exercises, numbers 30. It says print out and complete the exponent monster on the next page. Here's the exponent monster. It says fill out the following, and it looks daunting. But over here we have the little cheat codes right here that give us the perfect cubes, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, eighths for the number 2, and the perfect squares that we're going to need. We'll reference those as necessary. Here we have 6 to the negative third power. So that's 6 cubed, which is perfect cube. 6 cubed is 216. And what does it mean? Well, negative exponent puts it on the bottom. There we go. 169 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 3 to the negative 4. That's 3 to the 4th. On the bottom, 3 to the 4th is 81. Here we have 32 to a fractional exponent. 5th root cubed. So let's go to 32. We find that we do a 5th root and it gets to 2. And so if we take 2 to the 3rd power, that gives us 8. 4 to the negative 3rd power. So that's 4 cubed, which is 64 on the bottom. 2 to the negative 7th power. So we take 2 to the 7th power. That's down here. That's 128. And the negative exponent makes it a fraction. 256 to the 1/4 power. So we find 256 in the fourths, and if we go backwards and take 4th root of that, we get the number 4. 5 to the negative 3rd power. So in cubes, 5 to the 3rd is 125. The negative exponent puts it on the bottom, so that's 1 over 125. 256 to the 7/8 power. So we need to take the 8th root of 256 and then take that result to the 7th power. So here we look in the 8th power, and we only have one of them, 256. 8th root would be 2. To the 7th power would be 128. 625 to the 3/4 power, that's 4th root cubed. So we find 625 in the 4ths column. We take the 4th root of it, which is 5. So that 4th of 625 is 5 cubed. So we go 5 cubed is 125. 256 to the 1/2 power, that's square root of 256 to the 1. So we're going to go up here to the squares. There's 256. Square root is 16. There we go. That looks nicer. All right. The next column, 2 to the negative 4 power. So we take 4th power. 2 to the 4th is 16. The negative just means we're in a fraction. 243 to the 2/5 power. So we take the 5th root of 243. 5th root is 3 squared is 9. 729 to the 2/3 power. That's the cube root of 729, and we'll square that. So we go to the cubes. 729. Cube root is 9. So 9 squared is 81. 49 to the 1/2 power. So we're at 49 and we're square rooting it. We get 7. 27 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Here we have 121 to the negative 1/2 power. So that means we're square rooting 121, which we can see right here is 11. But the negative exponent means we're on the bottom. 64 to the 1/6 power, that's the negative 1/6 power. That's the 6th root. Let's go to the 6th root right here. Here's 64. 1/6 is 2. Negative exponent means we're a fraction, so it's 1/2. 243 to the 4/5 power, that's the 5th root of 243 is 3. To the 4th power, 3 to the 4th power is 81. 64 to the 1/3 power. 64 cube rooted is 4. 125 to the negative 1/3 power. So we're going to cube root it and then put it on the bottom. So 125 cube rooted is 5, and then on the bottom. So that's a 1/5. 125 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is 1. All right, 8 to the negative 2/3. So we're going to do 3 things on this one. Cube root it, square it, and put it on the bottom. So here we take 8 and we cube root it. So we've got to find 8 in the cubes. That's 2. Squared is 4 on the bottom. That's a 1/4. Okay, 27 to the 2/3 power. We're going to cube root and then square. So 27 cube rooted is 3. 3 squared is 9. 2 to the negative 2 power, we're going to square it, put it on the bottom. 2 squared is 4 on the bottom. 125 cube rooted is 5. Squared is 25. 32 to the 1/5 power, that means we're fifth rooting 32. Let's go over here. Fifth root of 32 is 2. 216 to the 1/3 power, that's the cube root of 216. Let's find 216 in the cubes, and it's 6. 625 to the negative 1/4 power, we are fourth rooting 625, so we find it right here, that's 5. To the first power, doesn't do anything. Negative exponent puts it on the bottom, so that's a 1/5. 343 to the negative 1/3, we're cube rooting it and putting it on the bottom, so we cube root it and we get 7 put on the bottom right there. Good. 5 to the negative 2 power, that means we're squaring 5 and putting it on the bottom. So squaring 5, putting it on the bottom, that's a 1/25. 69 to the 1/2 power means we're square rooting 169. We find 169 in the perfect squares and we square root it to 13, not a fraction. 512 to the negative 2/3 power, we've got three things here. We've got a cube root, which is 8. Then we're going to square that, which is 64. And then we're putting it on the bottom. Oh, that was involved. Okay, the next one. 6 to the negative 2 power. So we are squaring 6, which is 36. And the negative means it's a fraction, puts it on the bottom. 625 to the 0 power, that is 1. 16 to the negative 3/4, we're going to fourth root it. So we've got to find 16 in the fourths. Fourth root it, which is 2. Cube that, which is 8. And then negative puts it on the bottom. 343 to the 2/3. So we're going to cube root 343, then square it. So there's 343, and we're going to cube root it, which is 7, and then 7 squared is 49. 32 to the negative 2/5. We're going to take the fifth root of 32, which is 2, squared, which is 4. Negative exponent puts it on the bottom. 128 to the 0 power is 1. 256 to the 5/8 power. So we're going to 8th root it, which is, here's 256. 8th root it is 2 to the 5th power. So that means we're up here at 32. 9 to the negative 1/2 power. We're going to square root it and then put it on the bottom. So square root 9 is 3, and it's on the bottom because of a negative exponent. 81 to the 4/3 power. So we're going to fourth root 81. 81's right here in the fourths. Fourth root it is 3 to the 3rd power. Cube it is 27. Does not go on the bottom. 2 to the negative 3 power. Negative cubed? I don't know if we say that. So cubed is 8, and then the negative exponent puts it on the bottom. 64, we're going to 6th root it. Let's find it over here. 6th root is 2 to the 5th power is 32. Good deal. Next column, 16 to the 1/4 power. That's fourth root it, which is, let me see, 16 to the 1/4, 2. Good. 81 to the negative 1/4. So we're going to fourth root 81, which is 3, and put it on the bottom of a fraction. 216 to the negative 2/3 power. We're going to cube root it. So we find 216 in the cubes. Cube root it is 6. Squared is 36 as a denominator. Negative exponent flips it onto the bottom there. Okay, 3 to the negative 3. So we're going to cube it, which gives us 27, and then negative that, negative exponent, which is 1/27. 8 to the 1/3 power. That means we're going to take 8 and cube root it, gives us the number 2. 243 to the negative 3/5 power. So we're going to fifth root 243. That gives us 3. Then we're going to cube it, which is 27 right here. And then a fraction means that 27 is on the bottom. 128 to the 2/7 power. So we're going to 7th root 128. So we find it here, and we're going to 7th root it. It's 2. Squared is 4. 3 to the negative 2 power. So we take 3 squared is 9. Put it down on the bottom of a fraction. 36 to the negative 1/2 power. We're going to square root 36. Square rooted is 6, and that goes on the bottom as a fraction. 128, 7th root, 3rd power on the bottom. So 7th root is 2, cubed is 8, and negative means it's on the bottom. 2 to the 0 is 1. Okay, and now we have the last column. 128 to the 7/5 power. So we're going to, 5/7 power. 7th root 128 is 2 to the 5th power is 32. There we are, right there, 32. And it's not a negative exponent, so we don't put it on the bottom. 729 to the negative 1/3 power, so we're going to cube root and put it on the bottom. Cube root is 9. We'll make it a 1/9. 256 to the negative 3/4 power, so we're going to 4th root. 256 gives us 4. Cubed, 4 cubed gives us 64, and negative exponent means it is in the denominator. 4 to the negative 2 power, that just means 4 squared, which is 16 in the denominator. 32, 5th root is 2. 4th power, 2 to the 4th is 16. Negative means we're going to be a fraction. Interesting that we can get 1/16 from different ways. 512 to the 1/3 power. So this is cube root of 512. So we find 512 in the cubes. Cube root it is an 8. 4 to the 4th power is 256. And negative exponent means it's flipped. So 1 over 256. 625 to the negative 1/2 power. So we're going to square root 625 and put it on the bottom. So we've got to find 625 up here, not in the 4th column, in the squareds column. So it's going to be 25, but flipped, 1 over 25. 64 to the negative 2/3 power. That's cube root of 64, which is 4. Squared is 16 in the denominator. Okay, 27 to the negative 1/3 power. So we're going to cube root 27. Cube root 27 is 3. Negative will put it in the denominator. And then finally 243 to the negative 1/5 power. We're going to 5th root and then flip it down to the bottom. 5th root of 243 is 3. And flip it, we get a 1/3. Excellent.